Max, would you still prefer if we spoke to you outside of this room rather than inside this room?
It's been a long day, yeah.
Max Verstappen leaves the press conference after the Singapore GP with short answers and a look of evident frustration. Has the tension between Verstappen and the FIA reached a boiling point? In recent days, we've witnessed an unprecedented escalation in the conflict between the Dutch driver and the Formula One regulatory body. It all began with a controversial FIA penalty for using inappropriate language, leading Verstappen to adopt a silent protest stance in interviews. But is this clash just the tip of the iceberg? In this video, we will dive deep into this conflict, its current impact, and its potential consequences for the future. We'll examine how this tension, combined with other factors such as Red Bull's recent performance and growing pressure from rivals, might be affecting Verstappen. More importantly, we'll explore a crucial question. Could this clash with the FIA be the catalyst that leads Verstappen to consider an early retirement from Formula One? Get ready for a detailed analysis that might change how you see the power dynamics in F1. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated on this topic that promises to redefine the sport's future. Now, let's get to it. It all started with a simple press conference before the Singapore GP. Verstappen, known for his candor, used language deemed inappropriate by the FIA when describing his car's issues during the Azerbaijan GP. The FIA, in a show of zero tolerance for inappropriate language, decided to penalize Verstappen. The sentence? An obligation to carry out public interest work, a punishment many considered excessive for what seemed to be a minor verbal slip. Verstappen's reaction was immediate and forceful. In subsequent press conferences, the three-time world champion adopted a stance of silent protest. His responses became monosyllabic, often limited to yes or no. When pressed for more details, Verstappen simply refused to elaborate. This standoff between Verstappen and the FIA raises serious questions about drivers' freedom of expression and the level of control the regulatory body should exert over their statements. More than that, it highlights the growing tension between one of the sport's top drivers and the entity that governs it. But are this penalty and Verstappen's subsequent reaction just the tip of the iceberg? To understand better, we need to look at the broader context, including Red Bull's recent performance. The 2024 Singapore GP was highly anticipated. From the early practice sessions, it was clear something wasn't right. The car's setup seemed completely off, with evident grip and balance issues. The race itself provided no relief. Verstappen, known for his aggressive overtakes and relentless pace, found himself unable to challenge Lando Norris's lead. The McLaren driver crossed the finish line with an overwhelming margin of over 20 seconds, an eternity in the world of Formula One. This below-par performance not only reduced Verstappen's championship lead, but also raised questions about Red Bull's ability to maintain its dominance and performance. But perhaps the most worrying aspect isn't the performance itself, but how Verstappen is handling this added pressure. And to understand this better, we need to look at some of the Dutch driver's previous statements. Max Verstappen has always been known for his early maturity in the sport. Debuting in Formula One at 17, he quickly established himself as one of the category's most promising talents. However, over the years, Verstappen has also stood out for his candid statements about his future in the sport. In several interviews, the Dutch driver made it clear that he doesn't see himself racing in Formula One for a long time. In a particularly striking statement in 2023, Verstappen said, "I have other interests outside F1 and want to explore them while I'm still young." More recently, after winning his third consecutive world title, Verstappen surprised many by declaring that he was already past the halfway point of his F1 career. For a driver only 26 years old, this statement sounded like a premonition of an early retirement. These statements, when viewed in isolation, could be interpreted as simple reflections of a young driver about his future. However, when placed in the current context, the tension with the FIA, Red Bull's recent difficulties, and the growing pressure from rivals, they take on much greater weight. Is Verstappen frustrated with FIA policies and possibly demotivated by recent technical challenges, really considering ending his career sooner than expected? Or are these statements just a way for the driver to express his independence and avoid being defined solely by his F1 career? The answer to these questions could have enormous implications not only for Verstappen and Red Bull, but for the future of Formula One as a whole. After all, we're talking about one of the most talented and popular drivers today. While Verstappen and Red Bull face their own challenges, a new threat looms on the horizon: Lando Norris and McLaren. The young British driver has shown exceptional performance in recent races, culminating in his dominant win at the Singapore GP. Norris's rise is no coincidence. McLaren has done an impressive job developing its car throughout the season. What started as a problematic project has turned into a machine capable of challenging the best on the grid. In Singapore, Norris not only won, but did so with a margin of over 20 seconds ahead of Verstappen, a display of strength that cannot be ignored. This victory reduced Verstappen's championship lead to 52 points, still a comfortable margin, but significantly smaller than a few weeks ago. The pressure is now on Verstappen and Red Bull. They are no longer just racing against themselves and the clock. Now there's a real competitor, hungry for success, and with a car capable of challenging them. This new dynamic adds an extra layer of stress to Verstappen's already complicated situation. How will he handle this additional pressure? Will it motivate him to fight even harder? Or could it be the straw that makes him reconsider his future in the sport? But let's take a step back for a moment. Are we really witnessing the beginning of the end of the Verstappen era in Formula One? Or are we overinterpreting a series of isolated events? It's easy to fall into the trap of creating dramatic narratives in the heat of the moment. After all, Formula One is a sport of ups and downs, where fortune can change from one race to the next. However, we cannot ignore the signs. Verstappen's frustration with the FIA, Red Bull's technical difficulties, growing pressure from rivals like Norris, and the driver's own statements about his future. All these elements together form an intriguing picture. Let's explore some possibilities. Speculation about a possible early retirement for Verstappen has gained momentum in recent days. Fans, journalists, and even former drivers have been fervently debating the topic on social media and in the specialized press. Arguments in favor of this theory vary. Some point to the emotional strain caused by constant battles with the FIA. Others suggest that Verstappen, having already won 3 world titles, might feel he has nothing left to prove in the sport. However, there are also strong arguments against the idea of an early retirement. Verstappen is at the peak of his career, at just 26. He has the potential to break several records if he continues competing for a few more years. Additionally, his contract with Red Bull runs until 2028, suggesting a long-term commitment to the team and the sport. Abandoning F1 now would mean leaving behind not only a successful career, but also an extremely lucrative contract. So what can we conclude from all this? The truth is, at this moment, any definitive statement about Max Verstappen's future in Formula One would be mere speculation. What we know is that Verstappen is facing one of the most challenging periods of his career. This could just be another chapter in the journey of one of the greatest drivers in F1 history, or it could be the beginning of something more significant. Leave your opinion in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to stay updated on this topic that promises to shake up the world of Formula One. See you in the next video.